Okay, so I think everybody that's on this call is here for the business strategy training that that we get to have this evening. I do not know about you guys, but I like to talk strategy. I am not incredibly strategic. Like, my brain does not necessarily work that way. I am an idea person. I love coming up with ideas and then handing it to someone else to help execute or draw out the vision. But I'm an idea generator. There's a lot of you that strategy might be like just supernatural for you. Creating systems might be supernatural for you. You can look at something and see, okay, we need to streamline this. We need to remove this. We need to simplify this. You might be able to do that, but then not necessarily know how to execute that. So that's one of the reasons why we have these calls. Tonight, I've asked several people just to share some of their quick strategies, and then I am going to ask some questions to all of you because I want to hear from you how you do what you do and what your strategies are. But this is one of my favorite things. So I want to invite, let me see who's on. Jen, she offered to share some strategies with all of us. So you guys get out your pen and paper, because this is where I'm going to just tell you, when you get around people that are crossline, that do things maybe differently than you or have strengths that are different from yours, this is where the gold is. Ashley and I were in Utah a couple weeks ago, and we were around almost 1,000 or maybe more than 1,000 crossline friends. And you know what I did, guys? I asked questions. I literally asked like 10 people. I was like, okay, what is your sign-up process? Okay, what is your onboarding process? Like, that's what I said, and I freaking took notes. And so I'm going to share some of the things that I learned from them with you, but I wanted to open it up because I really want this to be a collaborative call. And those of you that have, even if it's one thing, guys, if there's like a hack with Happy Mail that could make everyone's life easier, please share it. You may not think it's like a big thing, but for somebody, it could be like what helps to streamline their process. Okay. So I'm going to, let's hear from Jen. Let's hear one of her strategies.
Okay, you guys. So I was just going to share two really quick strategies. One of them being something that I learned from a crossline friend at Winter Harvest. And like Rachel said, it's so important to say yes to these opportunities that Young Living gives you to collaborate with crossline, especially in-person events. I mean, there's nothing like it. But one of the girls that was there, she talked about the way that she enrolls, and it was a little bit different than the typical in-person event. And I thought it was really interesting, but she converts very well from it. And I think it's because she really brings things back to basics of just talking to people. So she said that what she does when she goes to talk to someone about oil, she does not bring the kit. I meant to bring like my little oil bag in here to show you guys, but she said she literally just brings her oil bag. And depending on the day, there could be several different types of things in it, just kind of what she's dealing with. And she said she just talks about those oils. She'll pull them out one by one, and she talks to the people about the oils. And then she shows them what their options are. And so they talk through different things and what they like about, different oils that are in there. And then she pulled out a piece of paper and she showed us how she presents things to them. She said she keeps it so simple. She does not give a lot of details because she said there's time for that later. Right now, you're trying to tell them how to sign up. So she says, she writes it like this. She said when she first did it, she was with a girl at Panera and she had it on a napkin. So she said, okay, this is your first option. So your first option to get started is a kit or a 100 PV order. And so she said she writes it just like that. She said typically she still sells the kit because when they talk through this first option, she'll say, okay, well, in these oils that we talked about today, you liked frankincense, you liked peppermint, you liked valor, you liked peace and calming. You're going to get all of those in the kit. So it makes the most sense to get the kit. So she says that. Then she says, your second option, you can get your 100 PV order or your kit. And then you can also do subscribe to save. So, we talked about those things and you can get your kit and you'll get those 4 oils that you want. Plus the other ones that we talked about today that you like Endoflex and Progestins Plus, you can add those to your subscription. And so that would be your number 2. Your third option to get started today would be your 100 PV order or a kit. You can do subscribe to save, and you can become what is called a brand partner. And so what a brand partner is going to do, and she explains, it gives you the option or the ability to make money with Young Living by sending your referral link to people. So what she doesn't do is she doesn't say all of the things that you're going to get with subscribe to save. So she'll say, for example, you get loyalty rewards, you get points back that you can go and do later, but she doesn't go into all of the details of 10% back, 20% back. She doesn't do that. So she was like, I keep it as simple as possible. So she says, I tell people, depending on what we've talked about and your goals, she typically says, number 2 is going to be your best option, because then you have, you can work through your goals. This is the catalyst for your goals. And then subscribe to save is what is going to keep you accountable to your goals. And I just thought that was so simple. And I loved that, because I was like, you know what, there might be a point in time where I am out with somebody and I don't plan on having this whole oils talk with them, but I'll always have my oils bag with me. And so when she said that, I was like, wow, that keeps it so simple, because you might not be in this situation where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have the kit and I feel so unprepared talking about it, but you can have your oils bag. And if you just get comfortable talking about those oils and then just writing this down, she said that visually writing this down for people was a game changer, because they're like, oh yeah, that is super easy. Yeah, definitely a subscription. That makes the most sense for me, especially since they saw all these other oils that are not in the kit, but it made sense for them to get the kit. So I wanted to share that with you guys, because I thought it was a really, really good perspective. 1, to make it way less intimidating. 2, to actually convert your people. And 3, to convert them and get them on subscribe to save. I just thought that was so genius and really just lightens our load as brand partners. And also helps them at the same time. So the other really quick business strategy I wanted to give you guys is, I tell my team this all the time. So if you guys are on my team, you've probably heard this so many times, but don't just provide people the solutions, help them actually understand the problem. So, I think a lot of times we're so young living. But people aren't hearing that because they don't understand what the problem is. If you take the time to actually learn a few chemicals, what they're in and what kind of issues they cause for people's families, then when you go and provide people the actual solution of something to do with Young Living, they're going to hear that. They're actually going to receive that, versus if you're just saying Young Living stuff and saying everything that it's so good for and why it's so good, that might not resonate with a lot of people. So challenge you guys to learn 10 new chemicals a month and what kind of products that they are in. So then you can go and help your audience and the people around you understand why they need to make better choices for their family. So then when you go and present them with a Young Living option, you're going to be able to explain that better, and you're going to be able to tie it full circle. So I find that is a really helpful tool for me as far as getting those conversations going and actually converting people. So wanted to give you guys that quick little strategy, and you guys can look on EWG. There's tons of places you can learn more about chemicals and which ones are the biggest culprits that are causing problems in your products.
That was so good. How many of you guys left? That first strategy in my mind is blown, because I am super visual. And it helps you not word vomit. I love the squares. That is so good. And you can literally draw that on a napkin.
We were like, what? It seems so simple, but I was like, wow, this is kind of blowing my mind right now.
Well, and when you said it just now, the way you said it didn't sound icky. It sounded like you knew where you were going. You knew what you were saying, and it was simple and easy to understand.
Yeah. And she said that people appreciate, they're having this conversation. Obviously it's supposed to go somewhere. And she said, I'm just giving them their options. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not trying to push them in any direction. I'm just giving them their options and then allow them to make that decision. So I just thought it was so smart.
And guys, this is a great way to close a class too. Even if you're not one-on-one, if you're standing in front of a group of people, maybe you have like a whiteboard, I don't know, whiteboard or a big pad of paper or a piece of paper if you're around a kitchen table. But if you're starting to do more in-person events and there is someone there that is not a member, this is a great way to close a class. This is a great way. This would even be a great Insta story, having a graphic of those boxes. Oh, this is good. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Jen. That was really helpful. Okay, let's hear from Hannah Benson next.
On my iPad, I'm like, where is the unmute button? Found it. Okay, so I have two things really quick. First thing is, when I first started, I knew I wanted to send my people something, but I didn't know what to send them. And I tried a bunch of different things. And this has worked the best for me as far as actually following up with people and being like, hey, did you get that thing that I sent you? Did you like it? Have you looked at it? All those things. So I have tried rollers and like DIY things, postcards, whatever. If that works for you, great. But this is what works for me as a mom that's like very busy and doesn't have time to keep track of everything. So this is the Annie Hauser book. Most of you have probably seen this, especially if you're on my team, because I like do not shut up about this book. But it's the kids one. She has one that's like for everybody. But honestly, this works for anyone. The reason I like this is it doesn't just talk about oils. It goes into supplements, which I'm really big into. It goes into baby products and kind of shows people like a quick snapshot of everything that Young Living has without being overwhelming. And I think it's like, let me see, it's 35 pages long. So it's really short. It's nice and lightweight. And so what I do is I send this. I bought a bunch of these envelopes. You can get them whatever color you want. My branding is basically like blush pink, black and white. And so that's why I did this. But the thing I really love about this is it gives them something to start with. So when they order, especially now, since you don't need a kit, they might have ordered a bunch of different random things and they're like, okay, what else is there? This shows them without being like, oh, here, let me tell you about the 1 million things we have. So I really like that. Also, it appeals to moms and like there's diffuser recipes in here, there's rollers. It just kind of has a little of everything. And I would say probably over 80% of my team is moms. So I just felt like this was the best option for them. So that's what I said. It's really easy. You can get it from Annie Hauser. I think it's at Modern, probably even says on here, modernandco.com. So I can pop that in there later too. And then the other thing really quick is social media. So this is not my like big strong suit. I'm actually revamping mine right now. But something I've been learning from my coach is that you have to pick something. You have to pick someone to talk to. You cannot talk to all the people at once. Like you might think you can, but you really can't. And if you're talking to everyone, you're not talking to anyone. And it was just kind of like, what was that for me? Like I didn't get that. So what I've been doing is I sat down with a piece of paper and wrote down things that I naturally like to do without like having to put a lot of effort in. Maybe it's just something that I like to do and I don't feel like it's like a chore. You know, like there's certain things that I would do that I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to take like a lot of work and a lot of effort. For me, I love systems. I love organizing things, simplifying things. And so minimalism and that kind of thing is my thing. I don't even have to think about it. It's something that's really natural. And so I started shifting my social media to more of a minimalism thing, but adding in Young Living. The reason I say this is because I think a lot of us just don't know, like when we first start out, like, what do I even share about? Like, if you're just sharing Young Living over and over and over, you can kind of just end up like a sales ad sort of, or like a, I don't know, like a brochure thing, billboard, whatever, an ad. And people are going to get kind of annoyed with that. And I know for me, I was just like, what do you do though? Like, what else do I talk about? Do I talk about my kids? Whatever. So if you pick a couple of things, maybe like 2 or 3 things that are really natural to you, gifts, whatever they are. And I'm telling you, literally whatever it is. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy. If you love plants, talk about plants. If you are like, I don't know, you like a certain hobby, then talk about that, because those people are going to pick up on how much you love that, and they're going to trust you. And especially if it's something you can serve people in. So like if it's a plant thing, maybe you can share how you keep your plants alive. Like people like me are like, okay, how do we do this? Because I obviously am not super skilled in that department. So that is one of the big things, is just find a way to serve people that is not Young Living, so that they feel served and then they trust you, but you're also able to serve them even after they're a customer with you, because they still feel connected to you in other ways. So that was probably like way too long, but you get the gist of it.
That was really good, Hannah. Now I'm going to ask you guys, what do you send your people when they sign up with you? Is it individualized to each person per conversation you had? Is it something that you always send to them? I know Ashley and I, for years, we've sent the pocket reference. I don't have, Ashley, do you have yours on you? That's just something that it was just like an automatic for us, you know, and that has been really helpful. But I do think, like Hannah was, go ahead.
No, I'll say I have desk reference, but guys, I didn't mean to interject after she asked me a question. Like, I still give people the pocket reference, and I know maybe it's counterintuitive because we get paid a little differently now, but I just find that people want knowledge, and I actually don't want to create a culture where they have to text me their question. Like, it's not me, and maybe that's you, and that's okay. But for me, I just don't feel like the culture I want to create is when someone's like, my mom has Alzheimer's, or I have allergies. Like, I really don't want them to ask me, because I'm not an expert. Totally not. I just have personal experience. So I've really found lately that it's been helpful to still give it. Yeah, Jen, that's the box I do. And then I do the reference. Find it helpful. But I love that box because it has sample things to use in it. So for a long time, I was always torn because putting that together on my own was overwhelming. And I only enroll I usually enroll 3 people a month, if that makes sense. But it was still overwhelming to me because I would forget people, and I enroll a lot of people locally, and I would like not bring it to them because I didn't put the capsules in there, or I didn't have an empty roller, and it became kind of a mess. So I like to give the pocket reference. I find that it's also helpful if someone gets on subscribe to save, and that's what I think Tracy does. Then you gift it their first subscribe to save order. That's complicated now, because now it could be like they got a lavender lip balm on subscribe to save. Like, posting that could be awkward for you, right? Because it could be their subscribe to save order could be like you making 1 quarter every month, and you're like, here's your $14 book or whatever it is. But just think through what makes sense to you. I actually view the reference materials as an investment, because for me, I would have never known to ask the things that I learned from reading it. So I pulled out up here, I have 3 different versions. I'm looking at my bookshelf of the desk reference. Like, if you want to build this business, which I know all of you do, that is the Oily Bible. Like, that's it. If you have the newest version, fun fact, if y'all want to know this, it's actually missing 170 pages, and they're updating it now. So you couldn't buy this. They sent this to Diamonds, and they're like, preview this. And all of us, like, people kept saying something was weird with the supplements, and then finally we realized it's because they stopped. Like it just stops. Like Essential Zyme stops. Like, there's nothing after that. So want to encourage you. Rachel's laughing. I felt like you would laugh at that because it's honestly hilarious. Because here's the thing, guys. You don't know what you're missing until you have it in your hands. And I know, Rachel, this is not why you're asking me to talk, but I want to really encourage you. Like, this is a lot. You're not going to read this like a chapter book. But what you will do is, like, for me, the first time I taught a class on skincare, I used all 40 pages on skincare and I learned about it and I looked up the oils and I had them out. And the next time it was easier. So same thing with raindrop. Like I didn't know how to do raindrop. I had it done on me. I thought I knew, but I had to look back. I had to figure out the benefits of basil. And that's exciting because that can be a system. Your system can be based on resources and it can be based on knowledge. And when you're creating like a wellness plan for someone, you have to have a place you got the information. You can't just be this like, oh, blah, blah, and then I have no idea what's backing your info. So I would encourage you. Rachel just mentioned we always used it. You want one too. So please get a pocket reference if you don't have it. Desk reference, it's not triple the price, but I would say it's 10 times the value. I'll cut myself off now.
No, that was good. I forget to say these things. Like these are things that I go to my desk reference all the time. And then when people are at my house, I just throw the book. I'm like, it's on page whatever. And guys, there are some nuggets in there. Like I'll read it to this day and I'm like Melrose I mean, the craziest things that I've found in there have blown my mind. And you guys look at the chat because when I ask that, what you send to people, I know Jen put in a link. So it's a new member box or a welcome kit. And then Christina says she sends the Oily Life Guide. Hannah said the oil app. That's good. Okay, so let's hear from, I know Michelle Jernigan has something that she wants to share.
So I can talk just a little bit about my follow-up strategy. And really it's more of a habit. So anytime I talk to somebody about anything where I could plug in oils, I find a way to flag them for follow-up. So this kind of goes back to like, however you track your conversations with people, if it's in a notebook, a spreadsheet, I use Trello. So if you search the Gather and Dwell group for Trello, there's a video that we did on that, Savannah and I. However you track your people, find some way to flag people who need follow-up. So for me in Trello, I flag them red. So for example, I did back in January of last year, I did a sample class and all the people who said they were interested, who got the samples, they're all flagged red because those are the people I need to follow up with. I never let go of those people. And on Black Friday, when all of the starter kit oils basically were on sale, I reached out to every single one of those people and said, hey, I remember earlier this year, you tried X, Y, and Z oils. You really liked this one. I just wanted to let you know that they're on sale. And those people were like, how did you remember that I liked lavender before I went to bed? And I didn't remember, but my notes did, Also things that I keep track of are if somebody's waiting for something to come back in stock. So I had somebody who was waiting on Mighty Bites for several months. And then as soon as they came back in stock, she still had her little red flag next to her name. So I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know Mighty Bites is back in stock. And she ordered Mighty Bites. So it's just keeping track of little pieces in your conversation that you otherwise wouldn't remember, because it's really meaningful to people when you remember that they expressed interest in something and you reminded them when it was back in stock. Another quick strategy that I can share with you guys is for zero PV members. So I don't know if anyone's had this before, but sometimes you can have somebody pop up in your virtual office as a new member, but they have zero PV. And a lot of people just kind of ignore them because there's zero PV. I would encourage you not to do that because under the new system, here's what it takes for somebody to get like that in your system. So for somebody to even show up as a member in your downline, they have to have added items to their cart and started the process to check out. So in the new site, you add things to your cart. And then when you hit checkout, you create your account, you enter all of your shipping information, you enter your payment information, and then you check out. So for somebody to show up in your downline, that means they have a cart full of stuff. So you don't want to ignore those people. I get excited when I see zero PV members in my downline. because I immediately reach out to them. Maybe their kids got crazy as they were checking out and, they didn't have time to finish. I immediately reach out to them and say, hey, I saw that you created an account. That's so exciting. Like, let me know what I can help you with your first order. And I've seen a lot of really good results doing that, as opposed to just ignoring those people and assuming that, they weren't interested or they weren't ready to buy. I think that's all I have. And I have a sample of like a text or an email that I can share. Even if you have somebody who's like placing new members in your downline. So maybe it's somebody that you don't personally know. I've got some language that you can use to follow up with them too, just introducing yourself. So yeah, that's what I have.
That's so good, Michelle. Some of you and your systems are so good. So one of the things that I want to encourage you guys to do, this is something that I've been doing a lot more, and I don't think I do it as much as I should, but Kristen Boss, she just did a training not too long ago, and she talked about evaluating and reflecting and how important and crucial that is to your business, and to ask yourself questions. And so I'm going to ask these questions to you and see where you get stumped, because where you get stumped, there probably needs to be something there, a system, or you need to find a resource so that the process is fluid. Okay, because if you don't know the answer, subconsciously, you're not going to promote the thing, if that makes sense. So what do I mean by that? You sign someone up. Someone says, maybe you're on your Instagram and you flash Super C, and they message you and they say, I want to buy Super C. What is your process? What is your language? What does that look like in that moment? What if someone says, send me your link, I want to sign up? What is your language? What is your process? Do you word vomit? And let me just tell you guys, in all transparency and vulnerability, when Ashley and I were flying to Utah, I was like, Ashley, I am hitting some roadblocks with enrolling. People will tell me they want to sign up. And then what I'm doing is, I don't know if this sounds like any of you, but I'm like, so you want perdescence. So you can get perdescence, or you can round up to 100 PV, and then they'll go, well, what's 100 PV? What does PV mean? And so I'm like, well, 100 PV is equivalent to $100, and then you unlock the 24%, and you unlock free shipping, and then you're a member for a year. But then you can do, or you could put one thing on STS, which is our subscription. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Like, so when I went to Utah, all my cross-line friends, I was like, right now, tell me your enrollment process. What's your verbiage? What do you say? What do you do? Come on. And you guys cannot be scared to do that. There are people that are so gifted in the way they say things and do things, and they're successful, and we can learn from them. I can learn from you. I want to ask you guys that. What is your verbiage when someone says, I want to buy this from you? Do you put all the options out there and they're like, what's STS? Or is there something more simple and you have a really high enrollment rate because of this simple thing? So one of the things that one of my friends said that she did, and then I'm going to kick it off to some of you, because I would love to hear what you do in your verbiage, because maybe some of you get overwhelmed like me. Yes, I get overwhelmed right now. Like, I have had 2 people that I can't freaking close because honestly, I think I word vomited. I was very streamlined with like the kit and the 50, I had it down. And so this new one, it is easy, guys. It's simple. I'm making it more complicated than it has to be. So I'm in the middle of a shift right now. And I am perfectly comfortable saying that, because I am so excited that I'm growing in this area, and there's so much room for growth in this area. And I'm going to keep showing up, and I'm going to keep learning from you guys. But one of my friends, she said that I don't know how many of you use the MyYL. So I'm going to give you 2 scenarios of what she said. If someone says they want to buy lavender, she goes into the MyYL and you can create a custom bundle. And she puts the lavender in, but she automatically, there's a box there that you click for subscribe to save, and it automatically throws that lavender on subscribe to save. So it automatically unlocks that 24%. She say, I go ahead, I create the bundle with the lavender, and I click that subscribe to save, and then I send them the link. And all they have to do is they click and buy, and they have 24% off. And she said, my verbiage to them is, hey, you have the 24% off next month. You can update the cart. I love this. You can update the cart, and I'll talk through that with you, or you can cancel it. It's up to you. And she's like, after the fact, I don't throw a bunch of stuff, but that initial link that she sends, it's already 24% off. They're getting what they want. And my friend Corianne literally enrolls 10 people a month this way, 10. And she said her follow-up process, so if you're really organized, like Michelle, you can have, okay, red flags on these 10 people I signed up. I need to follow up with them next month, even though Young Living does send emails when your cart is about to fire off to remind them and to talk through, let's see how we can update your cart. And so she says, I will follow up and say, hey, do you need help updating your cart this month? I know you had lavender when you ordered. Do you need help updating your cart this month? What can I walk you through? Her subscribe to save percentage is so high because of this, and her leaders duplicate this down. If you do not like using MyYL, she told me that she will she will do now I know not everyone does this, but I'm just telling you, this is the girl size at 10 people a month. She will literally get their information, their name, their address, and if they're comfortable giving her, wait, no, not the payment information. She basically signs them up, gives them a username, password, puts everything in the cart, checks the STS box, stops the process. Then she tells them to go back in and check out. So she sets the entire process up for them. And it's like, hey, I went ahead and set up your cart for you. Here's your username. Here's your password, unless they tell her whatever. Log back in and check out. Next month, we can update your cart, or you can cancel. So I don't know if that helped anybody or gave any of you clarity, but it sure as heck helped me. And I think that I just thought that was a really interesting way of not word vomiting all the things. I would love to hear from you guys about enrollment and what your automatic verbiage is back to people, and if you're prepared for that. How many people are asking you, hey, I want to order that, or hey, what is that, or hey, send me your link? What is your automatic response? So now I've been asking myself this question. What do you say to people that say they want to do the business? What does that look like, guys? Ask yourself the questions. Do your people know? Do your people have an onboarding process? Do your people know what to do? Like, these are all things, the more I've started reflecting and evaluating, asking myself questions, I'm seeing where there are holes in my business. I'm like, oh, because sometimes I'll just shoot from the hip. Well, that's not always good. Like, sometimes it's better to have something in place, and so your people can see that and use that same thing, that system. So does anybody want to volunteer share their tried and true or like enrollment verbiage when someone says, I want to buy something? Is it fluent for anyone? Is it different every time you enroll someone? Like, what does that look like?
So my verbiage is a bit messy. Still working on that. But I do have this system like you were talking about, as far as I always put them on subscription, and I have their cart auto fill. So there's a check for that as well. So it automatically, as soon as they log in, it sends them right to the cart. It doesn't confuse them with like, oh, check these things. What would you like to get? I found when I did that, people were confused and like, well, maybe I want this too. Maybe I don't, I can't decide. And so when you come back to them next month, you can say, hey, was there anything else that you wanted to get last month that you haven't gotten yet, type of thing, and then do their subscription that way. But I liked what you said about updating your cart. That wording doesn't sound weird. Like, it sounds so natural and like, oh, let's just do this. It's not like, well, do you want to keep ordering? Do you not want to keep ordering? And then they're sitting there confused, like, well, do I need to order or don't I need to order? Like, that just made it really simple. But just something that I do is I always put them on subscription because they can cancel it and it's really easy, but it gets them used to the idea of it right from the beginning. Because if you add it in like halfway through or like, oh, actually I didn't tell you about this thing and it's coming up next month, then everybody's confused. And then sometimes people are upset because they wanted the first order on there and they didn't know about it. And yeah.
That's good. Now, are there people on here that automatically always try to do 100 PV, get their people to 100 PV because it's free shipping and they unlock the wholesale discount? Is that something that you're like, I just always do that?
I do. So opposite from Hannah, instead of doing the pre-filled cart, I will do at least 100 PV in the bundle, but give them the option to add what they want to their cart. So if somebody says, oh, I want lavender for sleep, I'll put lavender in there, but I'll also put a couple other sleep oils. And then I'll just tell them, hey, I put 100 PV worth of things that I thought you might like in the bundle, because that's what you would qualify for free shipping with. But if all you want is lavender, that's all you need to check. And then people, it's in their mind like, oh, free shipping. And then a lot of people end up doing 100 PV.
Good. Does anybody have anything else that they want to share as far as strategies or verbiage?
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes.
So sorry, this is my daughter's iPad. My name's Asiba. I'm not Anaya. So if I get like a DM and someone is saying like, hey, I like what you shared, I'm interested in that, how does it work? I try to narrow it down, like, well, what specifically would you like to know? You know, because I don't, like you said, want to word vomit. But I've had a lot of people say, well, can you just send me the link to the site and I'll see what I want? And of course, then they're overwhelmed and they don't really understand all of the different products and how they work. And I've probably had 4 or 5 of these conversations and I don't really know where to go from there. Like, I don't want to bug them like, hey, did you have any questions? But that's kind of how it's going. And then it doesn't like follow through, if that makes sense. So if anyone has any suggestions of how to like kind of get people who are interested in one type of thing, but they don't know how to narrow it down, and I don't want to, you know, just throw the website at them, how to like follow through on that.
Okay, so a few things that I personally do. So before I send people the website, I try and ask them questions to really like pull out what their pain points are, because I think the more that you let people talk about their pain points, the more they realize how desperate they are, which sounds like really sad, but like that's how I started. I was asking Chelsea because I also like was still dealing with postpartum insomnia, and I didn't really realize it until she was like asking me all these questions. I was like, oh gosh, I really haven't slept in a long time. And so I think the more that you ask people questions and get their pain points out, the more that they realize what they need. And then you can give them a better idea of what you're pointing them to. Now, with things like following up, I know that feels like so uncomfortable sometimes, especially after you've given like a good 2 or 3 tries. And typically I just go to people and I'm like pretty straightforward. I'm like, hey, I just want to circle back one more time. If you're not interested, that's totally fine. But I just wanted to make sure I didn't leave you hanging. I wanted to see if there was any issues you dealt with the website, if there's anything that I could help with. And sometimes people will come back and say like, you know, I looked and the stuff I wanted was like a little too expensive. But that's actually really great when they say things like that, because then I can walk them through, okay, well, you know, that bottle of lavender, if you're using it for sleep, you know, you can make a roller and you'll stretch it this way. Or if you're, you know, looking to clean your house, like maybe they don't understand that the household cleaner is, you only need a capful. So it's nice when you give people the opportunity to tell you why, so then you can understand where they're coming from. And typically, I mean, I've rarely ever had when that situation happens that I couldn't end up getting them to order. And I think sometimes it's just like this miscommunication where maybe they're embarrassed to say like, this is a little too expensive for me, or I'm overwhelmed. but you going to them and being like, okay, I'm circling back just one last time, it opens that door for them. So maybe you've already tried that, but if you haven't, maybe just give it a go. I think it is really helpful. Yeah. And like Hannah said, like voice messages really, really work. Like I don't think that I've ever not closed a sale when I just get on and start voice messaging versus texting like on Instagram. I think it comes across way more personal and they can hear the lack of desperation in your voice versus when you're typing, like it can be read kind of desperate versus you just coming across like, I'm just really trying to help and understand and point you in the right direction. Because I think like all of us, that is our goal. You know, you want to help people, but you also want to help them in the way that makes the most sense for them. So yes, definitely voice messages.
Jen, that is like the number one. I mean, I know Hannah said like that's the number one tip of life for me. I would say for me, the greatest challenges I have through people I'm talking to right now that aren't on social media. And their questions are like, literally, this one girl was like, hey, and Rachel met her. It's my friend Nakia from the gym. So she won a packet of things you read at our workshop. I see her multiple times a week, guys. Like I see her at the gym and I've never talked to her about oils. She's never expressed interest. She does follow me on Instagram. I say this way. She doesn't interact, if that makes sense. Like she's there, but I don't think it's a thing she does. Like I can't imagine her messaging me. So she asked me today, she's like, what is that drink you had and how much is it? What does it do for me? Those are like literal 3 questions. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, of course it was, terrible. I'm like, you can buy the things you read. The packets are more expensive. Like I don't think I actually sound like that, but in my head, it was so awkward because I feel like I'm used to when it's someone that I'm talking to on any social media or even texting, like when I'll send them like an educational thing and then a custom WILE link. Like I feel like it's like, here's your education, it's sealed the deal, send you voice memos and explain, and then here's a link. And it just feels very like it feels like neat and clean. And I feel like I'm good to go. I know that they know what I know that they know. Like it's like this whole thing. I was awkward with her because I didn't know I don't have her phone number. She is not on Facebook. She's not like, I don't think she's actually on Instagram, if that makes sense. She's like there, but I don't think she's there, if that makes sense. So that happened. And last week I have a guy who's in his 60s, retired military and retired from a second job, and asked me about pain and asked me if I had anything that had THC. And I said, no. This is why I'm like lifting a giant weight, like deadlifting 80 pounds beside him. He's asking me, the music's loud. It's like awkward, right? I don't even know his name. And then I found his name on the board and he's like, could you help me with some pain things? I also, by the way, I'm 100% disabled, I have PTSD. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I make the same thing. I didn't have a way to talk to him. So I'm pointing telling you this, guys, is like, I found his name was Jeff, but we're not friends. Like I don't have his phone number. I'm sure he's not on social media. Like I'm pretty 100% sure. And that same week, another lady who is actually young, she's like, I'm sorry, she's in her 20s, but I'm not connected to her outside of Orange Theory. And she asked me about sleep. So reason I'm rambling to y'all is like, I have never had that. I've always met someone connected on social media and they've like seen my stuff and I've sent them some things and I've used them and it's been like this beautiful. Then I connect them to my group. Then I send them a Zoom class. Like it's been like, I can connect them. People that I feel like are dangling fruit, I feel like being tight on communication is not something I have down pat. Last week I had someone ask about CBD and she is not on social media at all. She's a government employee and I sent her some information about CBD, like written, and I sent her like a voice memo about how I use it. And then I sent her a custom link, a bundle that was I made that was 1,000 milligrams CBD and a Soothe roll on. And she hasn't responded to me since then. And I told her about the class tonight and she said nothing. So I'm like, it's really hard when you can't see if people see your stuff. And I don't know if this is education or maybe just a discussion point, but when I can see that people see what I'm posting or they can see that they read the message, it feels so much like good vibes, like we're working together and it's all happy. And I want to encourage you, if this is how you built your business, this is not how I built mine. It's been like in the past 2 weeks that I'm like, oh, this is awkward. This is awkward because I don't want to tell you who I am. I want you to see who I am because I post things and I post where I am and what I'm doing. And you should maybe look because then you think I'm great because I share with you the great things. And I know I'm being sarcastic saying that, but do y'all understand that that is like an added value for us as business owners? Like us being able to do that is such a value added because I don't have to actually tell people who I am when they're messaging me on social media. Like they can feel who I am through what I'm doing. So that piece, when you're trying to get someone into our community, I believe truly that for me, they don't know we have a community. And I want to just express that tonight. I know it's not system oriented. Sorry to change the subject a little, but what that being said is I do feel like we're the space we're in right now. We either have people who we're talking to on Zooms because they're connected to us in our Facebook groups, they're connected to us in Instagram, they're in our DMs, or they're in text messaging, like they're connected. So when we think about stepping outside that, it is the opposite. It's the opposite, like it's the opposite of that. It's like you're just in person, only now we're weird in person, right? We wore masks for a while, maybe you still are where you live. We were like distance. I didn't know, like these people I was with for a year and a half, I didn't know them because we were like 6 feet apart with a mask on and then like taking it off at our station and like, it was weird. So now that I get to know them, it's weird to me to ask for someone's phone number when I haven't done that in 2 years without like a warm relationship. I haven't just been like, I used to would have at vendor events, other places just automatically been like, what's the best way to get in touch with you? And now I'm like, that's weird. After they haven't talked to a human being in a couple of years, they're more like, I like the ninja packet. What is that? And you're like, and then they walk away and you're like, when do you want to meet for coffee? And they're like, no, like nobody wants to go to coffee. Maybe where you live, it's not true. I kind of feel like where we live, people go to their places, but like the extra, it ain't happening. Like do you want to come to I have a women's group Bible study tomorrow morning. I've never had less than 20 people and I have 4 people. And I think they're hanging on by a thread of like me being the intimidating, like, is tomorrow the day for you? Because it's the day for me. Like, it's going to be fun. I'll have coffee. We're going to have a blast. But no randoms are coming. So again, lots of rambling. My point is, I don't have a system to share about that, but I want y'all to think a little bit about what we can do that doesn't feel slimy, but also feels personally relatable when it is them literally not knowing who we are identity-wise in this business, but just what we have. Because like who we are, like Jen, if I follow you on Instagram, I know that you obviously are a leader in this business. Like you do something with it. You're not like, I got some things in my trunk, guys, let's go and check them out. Like you share them on a legit professional level. But I think when we meet someone in person or passing by, or they hear from a friend of a friend that we have some lavender, it puts us in this position where like, they don't know that, we've been doing this for a few years or for a few months, or they don't know we have 1,000 oils or 100 oils or whatever it is. And just throwing it out there for us to think about a little bit. That's part of where our future is for all of us, because people will never run out. People will never run out. Yet, Michelle, I've seen that too, and I need to make one. But what's funny is like the specific gym environment, it's like a no phone allowed, like it's in a little locker locked up. So it's funny. I feel it makes me feel so awkward because I couldn't, not like I don't do that, but I'm not like, what's your Facebook name? Because I would have to remember it and then like walk out and go into my little locker and get my phone and be like, hold on, Jeff, what's the middle name, please? Like it would be awkward. When it's more like, I'll see you when I see you. So I have like their crap in my car. Oh my God. This is how people used to do things. Like I have a friend that sells Color Street and she literally has like the nail things in her car and like pulls them out when we're talking at a kid's practice. But that doesn't feel weird. It feels like, oh, great. I let me pay about you $10 right now, $12. Like I'm like, perfect. Look at your things. If she said, I don't remember if it was Jen or Rachel saying about price. Like if she said they were $170, I probably would then just pay $170. Like I looked at a coach today, a nutrition coach for endurance athletes on Instagram today. I know it's not the same, but just leap with me in your brain for a second. She posted nothing about her range of prices. Nothing. Not like none yet. Like I was like, yeah, I was like looking at all, but I tried as hard as I could to figure out her range. She's like, fill out a form and I'll call you. So I didn't do that because that's just not who I am. It makes me feel awkward because I really just like don't want to hire her, but I just want to know what it looks like. But in my head, I'm pretty sure if I decided to commit to fill out the form or message her, I would pay what she told me she cost. Like I would then pay what she told me she cost. So when you send a custom link to someone that's linked to you on Facebook or on Instagram or texting them, Yes, it doesn't make the great bridge to the random in-person stories I had to share. But I will say, as a consumer, I'm ready to buy what they send me. Like like if I ever do message her, I am ready to buy what she sent. Not $4,000, not $2,000, not $1,000, but if she said 100 or 400, I'm pretty sure I'm like in. Like it's a thing that's going to happen because she basically sold me through just who she is and what she has to offer. So remember that a little bit when you talk about money, especially Rachel's tip she shared at the beginning about her friends and creating subscribe to save at the beginning. Guys, that is like, maybe you all do that. I did that for the first time last week. They didn't buy anything yet, but I mean, I made the cart. And I thought about it. I'm like, it felt weird because it was that CBD card I told y'all. It was a lot of money. It was like $160, I think. And it felt weird. But here's the thing. I never told her it was $40. I never told her it was a great deal. I never told her it was a value price tag. I just told her it worked. Or it worked. So what we have works. All of it. Every one of our products. Again, stop letting me talk, guys. Always cut me off because I love to talk. And in person, I can get visible cues to stop, but on Zoom, I'm like, they all smile at me, which could be good or bad. So I keep talking. I love you guys. Let's make some kind of systems call next month for people who meet people in person and aren't awkward, but become awkward. They need to sell something that the person doesn't know they have. So Rachel, you can be in charge of that because that sounds really hard, but that is something I think a lot of us need right now because we're in a different environment. We're just in a less interactive environment. Maybe you don't feel that, but I mean, I feel like where I live, I'm with lots of people, but it's not the same interaction. So I want to challenge us with that thought.
Thank you, Ashley. One of the things that I was telling Ashley when we were flying back from Utah on, we fly together. I don't like to fly, y'all, so I'm always trying to sit next to Ashley. And she's like, she can be all by herself, like whoop across the plane. But it's really good to have someone to talk to you and challenge you. And she was just asking me questions like, well, how did you grow? And I know a lot has changed over the years in this business. And I don't know how new you are, but things will always change. Things will always pivot. The market's always shifting. But there is something golden about who you are and how you build. Okay. Your sweet spot. That's not, doesn't feel as hard for you, but it's just like a part of this business that brings a joy, that fills something in you. And so she challenged me with that. And I'm like, well, I built this business through people on my team. Like someone would sign up and then I'd say, hey, I would love to teach a class for you. We can sit around your table, have donuts and coffee, or I can go to your workplace or whatever. And y'all have not, it's been years, right? So she's like, we'll do that next month. And I'm also like, been listening, following a lot of what Kristen Boss says. And I don't know if you guys listen to her podcast or anything, but so next month I have quite a few classes set up because I contacted people on my team and I said, hey, I would love to come teach for you. That it could be a class of your choosing, or I can just show up for you and your team. We can do whatever you want to do or whatever you feel like your team needs in this time, but I would love to do that with you and for you, and I'd love to partner with you in that. Guys, I have not asked my people that in a long time. And so when Ashley was like, well, we'll do that. So I went to leaders. I went to people that have been on my team for a long time. I went to new people and I literally voice memoed and was like, hey, I've been thinking of you and something I'm doing next month. I would love to come teach for you, or I would just love to come be with you and the 5 people that are on your team. Even if you invite them, we had a low-key Q&A. I could bring some muffins and we can just chill around the table. I'll bring my desk reference. I'll bring whatever you have to bring to the table, but you offering and stepping into that space. Like I've actually booked quite a few of these like classes, get-togethers, and they're all morphing into different things. One is a kitchen table. One wants like a legit bring her whole team together. We're going to do like make and take. We're going to have like big collaborative conversation, and people are bringing their friends, like prospects. So, but I just had to be challenged and to have that nudge of that's how I built, that's what brings me joy. And if you are trying to get in that space of in person, I would encourage you, if you have anyone local to you that's on your team, or even not, start with your warm market and see if anybody that's like warm market to you would want to do something like that. It does not have to be cheesy. Like, one of my favorite things to say is, we can even sit around the kitchen table and drink coffee, and I'll bring some rollers. I will, like, just whatever you can bring to the table, offer it. Offer yourself in this space, because there's something magical that happens in person. Really magical. Like, happens in person at crossline events, but also like in building a team. And I told Ashley, I am very focused. I'm very focused. Yes, I want to show up online, but I want to build and strengthen my local team. And I want to rockin', and we already have a pretty rockin' local team, but I just want it to be times 10, like this solid community of people hyper local to us. And I've never said that. I haven't said that in years, but I'm like, it's happening. Our best leaders in this area are coming. They're coming. We just have to keep showing up. So Christian Boss on the stage, and then I'll let you guys go. She said, your best leader is not on your team yet. And Ashley was like, woo! But it was so fun, because we all need to think that way. I know she loves me, and I know she loves all of you. But it's so true. Like, your best leaders are not on your team yet. Your best, like, the people that need you are waiting for you. And just having that mindset of, these people aren't spending money, no one's showing up. You just have to move into a space of, like, you cannot be the motivator for people, but you can show up and do it for you because you're committed. And over time, that compound effect and just your belief in yourself will emanate. Like, it just will, and people will see it in you. Oh gosh, that's so funny. Ashley's getting funny. So that's my goal. And because of that nudge, I encourage you guys, if you want something local, like I've seen so many of you do really cool classes. Michelle, I know you did a soap class that was really neat, and you had QR codes. Like, just get creative if that's something that you want for yourself. Or it could be social selling on social media primarily. Okay, good call, guys. Have a great evening. And Ashley, what's the next class we need to be promoting? Do we know? I need to look at, it's next Tuesday. And we're about to roll out the calendar for next month. But I'm going to tell you guys this. You will, February, we got some craziness coming in February, like crazy. Like crazy. So
Like, it's going to be the best month ever. Like, I don't know if you know what February is about to bring, but something about 2/22, the 2 to the 2, like, there's something about the synergy of all the 2s. And no, I don't mean 2s on the Enneagram. I'm talking about like literal date 2s. I am so excited. And I know we say that a lot, but I want you to understand, this is next level excitement. We've never seen Young Living do something like what they're in.
Ever.
Never.
People were screaming in the.
We're so excited.
I'm done. I'm gonna.
We do have, so next Tuesday, I don't know that what we're really calling it. I mean, I'm assuming our brand partner call, we kind of launch out things for the new month, is what we talked about. We haven't published the February schedule just yet, but we are definitely going to be focusing in on you and your growth and what we can do to help you. As leaders, and leaders is, or everyone on here, when we help our teams, it helps us. And that is such a valuable thing, because that's not every business. What we do every day to help ourselves helps our leaders. What we do every day to help ourselves, if we're serving and doing it the right way, it helps our teams and it helps our new brand partners. So thanks for showing up for yourself. Because here's the thing, when you show up for yourself on calls like this, you're planting seeds that are going to later, they're going to sprout, they're going to grow into plants. And eventually whatever kind of plant they're going into will be harvested for a purpose. And you might not see the growth that's happening in you right now, but this is like a seed in the ground that's getting watered. Like basically these calls are like water. And when you get water on you, you grow roots. And when you grow deep roots and you're planted around other seeds, your roots kind of get near other seeds. They get energy from them. They break through the ground. They absorb nutrients. I mean, all of those things that might sound silly, but guys, this is essential. This has to be part of your week every week. So I want to thank you for saying yes to yourself tonight. I want to thank each and every leader, all of you guys that shared tonight. I think Michelle jumped off, but Hannah and Jen and Rachel, we appreciate and honor you. And we're so excited to, collectively, I say we're so excited because we're all pumped to be part of this community. And the best is yet to come for our businesses. I know it is. So thanks for joining us tonight, guys.